Hey, what's going on, everyone? Eric Rosen, Viking Rising Astrology. Took a little break, needed a little bit of personal time away from the dailies. Got some good feedback, though, this past weekend about how the dailies have been helping people, how this daily astrology is helping people out. So let's keep it going. Let's keep rolling them out, shall we? So, this is your horoscope for Sunday, August 26, 2024. Thanks so much for being here. Well, we're in Virgo season. Toot toot, get the work done. That's it. That's your horoscope for today. Now, seriously though, there is a little bit of a grind energy to things, but I think it's a positive type of one if we know our worth, if we're putting enthusiasm and flair and creativity and just basically enjoyment and pleasure into our creations, where it's like knowing our worth, knowing that, at any moment, like prosperity can drop in, abundance can drop in. I think we got to be careful to make sure that our monkey mind doesn't like kick up too much like dirt, and then we start like losing traction like with our creations and with our projects. It's almost like making sure that if you're like the weekend warrior and you're still doing stuff, which I highly suggest, is these are times to really work things out. That we're finding a way to feel good about it. And it's even when the dust does kick up, and it's like, can we stay neutral? Can we see the purity of the essence of like what is occurring, and not like nitpick the details of like how it should be going better, or it should fit more of a metaphysical model of things. I mean, there's just a lot of things that can feel like they're not working right now, and then we're having to like work through all this things not working, and it can even sometimes feel like having to, in a weird way, ignore what's not working, because it's like we put our attention on it with Jupiter and Gemini, and then it just like blows up, and then Mars is like driving the bus forward, trying to we're figuring out identity behavioral changes and things. And so I think we just got to make sure we don't get too lost in the fog. It's not there yet, but pretty soon Venus is going to start this opposition over to Neptune. So it's kind of like, like it's easy to see where the subconscious patterns are at, and it's probably going to show up where we shit on our own self-worth and creativity, and do that like little nitpicky, no, it should go this way, it should go that way. And there's a little bit more of a flow, I think, that can come, especially early on in the day, and that any discomfort facing towards the end of the day is really just kind of a resilience test. Like, can you be strong like the bull, the Taurus bull, as the moon will cross Uranus, and be okay with unpredictability and uncertainty? And this is a catalyst moment that we're getting throughout the month, but it's really just another reminder that as we kind of got to focus on the details of things and really pay attention to our reality right now, because there's really just no scapegoating. We've got to pay attention to all of it. How's our health? How's our finances? How are our relationships? Like, we've got to be kind of systematic in our approach to things, and making sure that we're not slipping, or at least, if we do slip, it's in a new area that we needed to like learn a lesson from, and we're not like slipping on the same banana peel because we're reacting and going into a situation where we lose our poise, our cool, our demeanor, and we're just like knowingly, consciously doing the same fucked up patterns, because we're trying to feel a certain way and trying to force Uranus's hand, when Uranus is just going to kind of backhand us and push us in a different direction anyway, for basically teaching us how to still elevate ourselves, right? That's the beautiful thing. It's like, whatever effort that we're putting in, action steps that we're taking, the things that we're working on, there's still going to be an element of an always reminder on a day like today of where there's a human ascension process to this. But what I want to say is that it's less struggle, it's less painful when we know our value systems. Uranus has been teaching us since 2018 how to like really raise the vibration to really ascend into a higher set of spiritual values, and also spiritual skill set too, and to always see where we can always be taking ourselves further. And at least identifying those areas of where we can do better, and that it's not about using force to try to push doors open that are just not ready to open, with Pluto just hanging on by a thread, retrograde in Aquarius, trying to push, some future timeline of things, and more so just being like, okay, well, I see where I can do better. Hey, universe, hey, guides, angels, like, can you help me out with this? And so we can create these like miracle faith-based like moments of things. And I think that's the thing that keeps us going on days like today, where even if we can't see the forest through the trees, so to speak, and but hopefully everyone gets a reward of some type today. I think it's days like today, it's like getting a gift, to keep going, even if it's a conversation, someone complimenting you on your work, or someone likes your creative process, or you're around the house and you did something nice for someone and they appreciated it. Maybe not, it's not like bet and win big in Vegas, type energy, lucrative gains. I mean, that's just the challenge of Jupiter and Gemini, but the humble spiritual nature of things, to have it show up in front of our face to really catch our attention, these things to be grateful for. And I think it can remind us that, we can be grateful in every moment, as opposed to, again, shitting, nitpicking on what feels like it's not working and being negative, and like reinforcing some illusion of lack that really it can seem like there's something lacking or missing, but it's almost like, imagine that Pluto retrograde in Aquarius was kind of like, we started leaping across rooftops, Matrix style, and then all of a sudden we ran out of gas because, I think some of this can be lethargic energy to keep going, and we tripped and we didn't make it over the next building, and then we had to like kind of like bounce off of a web or a mat, or even Neo was like, he fell and then he hit the concrete, but then it broke his fall, and it was like kind of like pushed him back up. It didn't like kill him, right? Because it was a construct. And that's sort of the practice of this too. It's like reminding ourselves that, as serious as things are, the macro piece, to be like, well, it's a training at a soul level, that if we get too hung up in the human journey of it, we lose sight of the spiritual oversoul piece of this, and we start taking life too seriously. We forget to take risk. We forget to show up and, do things differently, and different behaviors and changes that we can make for things, because the human element tends to be in the comfort of it. So, any feeling of trips, falls, lack, it's just to bounce us back. It's a rebound moment. This is, probably the best way to describe it. It's like rebound astrology. It's like it's okay. Like, the scoreboard's going to be reset here soon with this new moon in Virgo, where Uranus and Pluto, Uranus goes retrograde at the same time as that new moon, and then Pluto goes back in a Capricorn retrograde at the same time. So it's like, there's shifts coming. So we almost had to not fake ourselves out too much about what's going on in our life right now circumstantially, because all of a sudden there's going to be a trap door thing where it's like, oh, there's the way out. And it's like, it might feel like going back into an old space again, but at least it's a space that can feel a little bit like less crazy, chaotic, and trying to understand the carousel of all these frequencies and just connections of people in the world, and the media, and our own emotions, and solar flares, and just all these different things, and that at least we can go into a different paradigm for a little bit, that even if we find out that there's different sets of challenges, that at least when we go into that at least that new refresher energy of being in a different energy, a different almost headspace environment, At least it's kind of like, well, at least I'm like out of that thing now. So it's like, take the lessons, take the awarenesses, take the insights that we're all getting, right now, and like stay strong with it, stay poised with it, not like hypercritical about situations, because, you know, it might be hard to see, but that's why I'm giving the astrology, where it's like you can't see that the scoreboards, the time is winding down. Fourth quarter of the scoreboard, you're going to get a break and get to the intermission and go play on a different court for a little bit. But I think for some folks, it's like being so in it, it's like not knowing that there's about to be a shift, there's about to be a game over intermission, and not in a bad way, but shifting phases of things to, because this is taxing astrology on us. It really is. It's taxing on nervous system level, on an endocrine system level, on a mental level, spiritual, and I think our strengths ultimately right now is going to be the mental piece of focus, and then also at least, things aren't extremely wishy-washy emotionally, unless we get erratic and we forget our worth and our value and our sets of values, where we actually go, okay, like, how can I stay solid and keep basically going with knowing what our, you could say boundaries, but it's almost like more so of an obvious nature. It's like, well, I just keep doing this project, this money situation, and that there's going to be lessons, there's going to be a humbling piece of like, what's the approach, what's the perspective, are we doing it from a place of lack and limitation, or are we using every moment where there's a challenge or an uncertainty that comes up to see how can we expand our mindset into more abundance, that way that, even when like the abundance is like more readily apparent and the prosperity like does hit, and there's, some type of reward, that it's like, it feels like $1,000,000. It doesn't just feel like, oh, thank God, I got what I needed or wanted, and this could be anything. It could be financial, it could be relationships, it could be, something finally moving forward on a project or something like that. But, and we do this so that we can at least use this last week of Pluto and Aquarius to teach us how to plug into higher frequencies, and then we plug into that higher frequency, and then we make the most of it when we're connected to it, that, we sort of allow the human to be the observer of the thing, and we kind of get connected on a soul level, where, anyone that you see that's like doing well right now, or their vibe is high, or they're vibing, and they seem like they're doing good on their path, it's because of those moments of knowing how to plug in to a frequency, and then kind of get the fuck out of the way, and like not control it, and like go on the ride and the journey with it. And so that's the thing that sends electrical charges out to connections and community, and that, where we can be sources of light and inspiration for others that are struggling with being hypercritical or uncertainty, or, maybe really unsure where the future is going, because this astrology brings up a lot of that too. So I'm gonna pull a card today, which, by the way, if anyone wants to learn more about their natal chart, their placements in their natal chart, my ebook is out for purchase. It's $33. I will have the link down below, and of course, as always, we'll have links for natal chart readings as well as deep dive astrology readings. Let's see what we got. Just card to confirm the energy of the day. Interesting card. So I got the, so Ceres is an asteroid that deals with nourishment. I know it's backwards here, but I did pull it in the reverse position. So this is all about kind of like a mothering, nourishing energy of like, how do we take better care of ourselves? I think that's the hard thing, it's like with all this Virgo energy, even though it is just the sun and Venus, but, they're kind of stretched at the polarity ends of Virgo, the sun at the beginning, Venus at the end. It's a reminder to ourselves that with Pluto at the very end of, very beginning of Aquarius, about to go to the end of Capricorn, like this really is that time to make sure that we do nourish ourselves. And so it's interesting because there's a busyness to things, but with Virgo, it's like it does deal with our health too. And so knowing with Pluto and Capricorn, that's also going to make aspects over to Neptune, and that it might shift things so much in our psychology of like our commitments, and almost like a deeper spiritual calling that's coming. It's like almost like making sure that, even like noticing when we get hung up, where do we get hung up on? We're working on a bunch of stuff, but then we're not putting our own nourishment first, because some of the stuff that we may be doing right now may be like really pushed to the side or even tossed out, or who knows what, when Pluto comes back into Capricorn, because there's such a hidden element to it. So I think a lot of this is dealing with those things. I feel like this especially deals with traumas too, just because with that moon crossing Uranus, it really activates how grounded are we in our central nervous systems. And so that can potentially activate traumas where we're feeling a little stuck in the mud, like on things, and that we're kind of staying busy just because we're actually avoiding some form of needing to connect deeper into ourselves to see what actually needs nourishment, what needs love, what needs compassion, what needs purification. With it being Virgo, that it's like, yeah, it's a busyness, it's our schedule, it's our work, but it's also deals very much with how do we take care of ourselves while taking care of business as well, and the discernment spiritually to really pay attention to spirit, to really say yes or no to like what they're calling us towards with those next steps, that they may be saying no to something that makes sense, because it's actually not going to make sense when Pluto comes back into Capricorn, because all of a sudden the off switch really hits in Aquarius with Pluto leaving it, and we're just claiming a much different reality at that point for a few months. So have a good Sunday. If you guys want to get that ebook or get a reading, pop into those links down below. Love you all.